Hiranyakashipu basically gave an order to all the disciples or like followers to go and destroy all the cows and all the Brahmins. So basically a terrible idea. But Prabhupada in his purports, today I wanted to go over Srila Prabhupada's teachings on this, how he gives purport to these shlokas and these this mood of Hiranyakashipu. So basically from verses, I'll go kind of backward, verse 14 of the second chapter. Prabhupada is basically commenting on this. Dadahu pattanani cha. He's basically saying, oh, demons, go, put fire, pasturing grounds, cow pens, gardens, all the agricultural fields and natural forests. And what did the demons do? They went and burnt all the hermitages of the saintly persons. And they, basically took away, they killed the cows, they destroyed agriculture, they destroyed the Brahman, they started to destroy Brahmanas. Why they were doing that? Prabhupada, in that purport, in the end of that shloka 14, he says, he brings up Patram Pushpam Palam Toyam, how the Supreme Lord is very easily pleased with small things. But and our duty is only to do some Siddhir Haritoshanam to please the Lord in whatever we are doing. Instead, all these verses basically from verses 11, 12, 13, 14. All these verses are exact opposite. Whatever Hiranyakashipu was saying, the exact opposite is the ideal Brahminical culture. So Prabhupada says, the last paragraph of that 14th verse, the government, indeed, the entire society should be structured in such a way that everyone can be trained to satisfy the personality of Godhead. But unfortunately, especially in this age, Nate viduswartha gatim hi Vishnu. People do not know that the highest goal of human life is to please Lord Vishnu. On the contrary, like demons, they simply plan to kill Vishnu and be happy by sense gratification. So see, Srila Prabhupada is bringing a completely higher picture than what we saw in this episode of Karna and Dronacharya, because this is 5,000 years ago. 5,000 years ago, the whole cultural system of Brahminical culture, Kshatriya culture, was based on blood lineage. If somebody is born a Brahmana, then they can learn Brahminical Vidya. And if somebody is born a Kshatriya, then they can learn Dhanurvidya or any other skills of being a warrior, and so on and so forth. Not that anybody, Karna was Sutputra, so they could not teach him. They didn't care that. They didn't care where was he born, how was he born. They just said you were raised by a Shudra and therefore you cannot learn these sciences. Then that led to so many crazy things. Even today, a lot of Brahmana people, like born Brahmanas, so many of my relatives, friends, all these Brahmanas from India, they have all moved to America. And what they've become? They become Shudras. Engineering is Shudra, basically. So they go, and working under anybody is Shudra. So all the Brahminical brains, they had that brain, the DNA, the genes of being a little bit more, no, the capacity to learn knowledge was there. And they all just come to America and become, merge in with the culture. I watched one video. I should actually show you that video. Okay, at the end, I will show you that video. It is Srila Prabhupada answering a question, of Harishauri Prabhu. So cool. This thing is so cool. Our Brahminic culture, I need to share this on my screen and then I can share it. So Prabhupada, this is Prabhupada's answer to the question. Okay, I'll show this in the end, okay, because I need to open it in another window, WhatsApp and everything. But what I want to emphasize is in the verses 13 and 14, Prabhupada is describing how the demoniac followers here that are following the demoniac principle. And what's the demoniac principle? Demons are thoroughly envious. They're very envious of the general populace. They cannot see others happy. Even today, the scientific, this is Prabhupada, no? Prabhupada basically explains how even today, scientific advancement exemplifies such envy, Prabhupada says. In verse 13, he says that. And he speaks about nuclear energy, how the nuclear energy is becoming more and more popular. People are taking up to this disastrous thing. Every country is manufacturing nuclear weapons. And Prabhupada takes that word in that verse. It's called Kandana Priya. Vidhadau Kandana Priya means these people are very expert in persecuting others and causing pain to other people. So they are extremely envious. These demoniac persons who want to kill Vedic culture because they want to kill Vishnu, and therefore they want to kill Vedic culture because they know that Vedic culture and Vishnu are connected. They're extremely envious of the normal citizens. And so they act in such a way that everything, all their discoveries, compares demoniac culture with modern technology such as nuclear weapons to jagato hitaha, means very inauspicious for everybody. All this modern advancement, that is advancement, is actually very detrimental, very inauspicious, Prabhupada says. And he says, read the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where all these demoniac activities, sinful activities, and how destruction of population, all this is described. Then like I said, Prabhupada brings up the point that in these purports, this Hiranyakashipu's mentalities, principles are indirectly opposite of what proper human civilization should be like. Means, what is the opposite of what Hiranyakashipu is doing here? In a perfect human civilization, there should be people who are brahmanas, perfectly trained brahmanas. These brahmanas should also have kshatriyas who rule the country very nicely under the guidance of the brahmanas, who know the shastras very well. And then there must be qualified high-class vaishyas who can protect the cows. Cow protection means vaishyas, not just making money. Oh, you making money doesn't mean you're a vaishya. Actually protecting the cows, engaging other people is Vaishya. So this word comes in the verse number 12. Gavaha. Gavaha means cow protection. So Vedic civilization is lost if there is no cow protection. And you look around, especially in America, if you look around, everywhere steak. People eat all kinds of things and cows are slaughtered. I decided when I came to US that I'm going to be vegan here, because the cows are tortured so much, or their nipples are always swollen because they're given all these medicines to make them give a lot of milk. So they actually become very, very pain. They're always in pain. Their breasts are always in pain, so they're not protected. And all this milk and yogurt and all this cheese and cream, they're all coming from very, very pained cows, which if we consume, we cannot escape from responsibility because they're indiscriminately killed after that. And while they exist also, they are being tortured. So these are the acts of demons, Prabhupada says. Therefore, this is demoniac civilization, Prabhupada declares in the verse number 12 of the second chapter. He says Varnashram Dharma means human civilization, and human civilization means there should be a Brahmana to guide, a Kshatriya to rule perfectly, and a Vaishya to produce and protect the cows. Produce food and protect the cows. Otherwise, people cannot live peacefully. It's impossible, Prabhupada says. It's impossible to find peace if we're not living this life. In fact, we can see because we're not living that kind of life, we're moving towards hell. It's a hellish existence. Wars everywhere. I saw some videos of kids, these Muslim kids, for Ramadan, they don't have food, and these are all from the survivors of the war. And then we wonder why all this thing is happening. Who sent one of you posted, somebody posted on in your WhatsApp status, there was a chicken, and that chicken is taken like this, and a little boy is trying to dip that alive chicken into a soup. And then the quote said something like, be careful. When God kills, he kills in plenty, in masses. So the point is, we may harm without thinking the consequences. But when wars happen, when demoniac population becomes stronger and we lose that Brahminical culture, then Prabhupada says this increment of demoniac population, they have completely no value for Brahminical culture. And also there's no Kshatriya government. Instead, the government is, Prabhupada used to say, demon crazy, in which basically Shudras are up in the hierarchy. And because of this kind of poisonous effect of Kali Yuga, he says, Dasyu Prayeshu Rajasu. The government will adopt the policies of Dasyus or plunderers. Then there will be no instructions from the Brahmanas. So even if there are so-called Brahmanas, that's my presentation here with the next slides. First of all, you see the whole caste system. We saw Karna with Drona. Everything was like, oh, you're Shudra, you need to do this. Vaishya, you are supposed to do that. Kshatriya, then you can learn Dhanur Vidya. Brahmanas, they're supposed to teach. Karna asks Dronacharya, excuse me, you are not a Kshatriya. Why did you learn Dhanur Vidya? Excuse me, you're not a Kshatriya. Then why your son is learning Dhanur Vidya? So he asks very legitimate questions. The point being, we lived in a system where Brahminical culture became lineage, seminal lineage. Oh, you're born to a Brahmana, you're a Brahmana. But Prabhupada actually debunks that. He says that's nonsense. A high court judge cannot become a high court judge just because the father is a high court judge. You need to display quality. So there is a lot of Brahmana bashing within the community. They say all this Ambedkar and all these nonsense people came and they turned the whole system upside down. They said all these people who are dull, they don't get good scores. Their ancestors were oppressed by not being given education. So now let us put them up. So all these people, boys and girls who are Brahmana by birth in their caste certificate, they are Brahmanas. These people, even if they get 95%, they are put below. And these Dalits, or I don't know what you call them, SC, ST, scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. So these are the people whose ancestors were discriminated based on bodily lineage, DNA or seminal lineage. So then these people like Ambedkar came into power, political power, and they said, let's put all these Shudra lineage on top. How did this solve anything? All the intelligent people left India. If they were somehow unfortunate to be born in Brahmin families, they had to come to America to come and beg jobs from these Malechas who are eating cows and killing cows and destroying the world and producing nuclear weapons. So this is the exact opposite of Brahminical culture. So we don't even need Hiranyakashipu. Modern day, we don't even need Hiranyakashipu. We are doing it readily. In many ways, we are responsible for it. So that's the point Prabhupada brings up in these purports. There has to be Brahminical education, which does not mean family lineage. It does not mean somebody born in Brahmana family. It means developing those qualities from a young age. Like Prahlad Maharaj says, when you are very young, kaumaram acharayat prajno. When we learn these Brahminical culture, hygiene, cleanliness, purity, what else? Let me look at the verse. Kshatriya. So this is Brahminical quality. The duty of Brahmanas is to cultivate sama, peacefulness, dhamma, self-control, titiksha, tolerance, satyam, truthfulness, saucham, cleanliness, arjavam, simplicity. Then, only then, they can advise the Kshatriyas how to rule the country or how to rule the planet. Then when we follow these instructions of properly training Brahmanas, properly training Kshatriyas, then we can engage the populace in austerity, sacrifices, Vedic study. Then we can establish rules and regulations in a practical way. People learn Bhagavad Gita, people learn Bhagavatam, people learn how to do etiquette, they learn the culture, and they don't go and beg jobs from others. That's definitely Shudra. So then they will arrange for giving charity to the Brahmanas, sannyasis, and building temples, providing shelters for people to practice religious performances. This is the godly arrangement of Brahminical culture. This is in summary of what Prabhupada says in these purports. So in charge of, then this is Prabhupada, he says, in charge of various necessities of life, the demigods, being satisfied by performance of yajna, supply all necessities to man. But he who enjoys these gifts without offering them to the demigods, in turn, is certainly a thief. The whole point of Brahminical culture is to turn this, where is it? Here. To turn the system of traditionally like Dronacharya rejecting Karna and triggering Karna to such an extent because he had such a hunger for learning, and he had that in his blood too. Blood is important, but blood is not everything. If we do come from family lineages which are religious, traditional, Brahminical, it can help, but it's not an only determining factor. Nature or blood is one thing, but nurture is also very important. What kind of character we nurture, what kind of swabhava we are cultivating is also very important. So to go beyond the bodily level of caste system, like in India, we made mistakes. I think now is the time to show that video. India, we made mistakes. What was our mistake? We means as all our ancestors, they made mistake. Brahmana, nowadays Brahmanas means those who have big bellies. They go to different homes to eat Shraddha food. Those people who go and do Shraddha, and they are become the Brahmanas. Brahminical culture has lost its value. Earlier, Brahmana will curse you means it was something big. Nowadays, all these Brahmanas, they only live here in America and eat all kinds of nonsense. How is that Brahminical? So there is a break, there is gap. There is a huge gap between what real Brahminical culture means and what today it has become. So it's our responsibility to redefine what Brahminical culture means, and we shoulder the responsibility as Prabhupada Anugas, as Rupa Anugas, we hold that responsibility because we cannot throw the baby with the bathwater. Just because there was abuse of caste system in India, we cannot throw away Varnashram and say, oh, you know what, there were people, Shudras, who were exploited, so let's not talk about Varnashram, let's not talk about Brahmin, Kshatriya, everybody's just Vaishnavas. We cannot say that. We need the Brahminical culture. Kalau Shudra Sambhava, everybody in Kali Yuga is Shudras. That doesn't give us an excuse to not cultivate Brahminical culture. And on the other side, okay, let's play this video. This is Harishauri Prabhu asking Prabhupada.
Newspaper article in the paper. I was reading, they were advertising a new book about the evolution of man, and they were saying that there was approximately 2 million varieties of life on this planet. This was the calculation of the scientists.
2 million? No, 8 million, 400.
Oh.
Newspaper article.
Sorry, that's not the one. I sent the wrong link. That's the same, the proper looks the same, but the video is slightly different. Let me find it.
Swear on the Bible in the court. And I was reading in the paper the other day.
Found it.
Why is India not?
I'm sorry. Anyway, that was also relevant, but this one.
Why is India not satisfied with its own culture?
If the Westerners are now going after the spiritual culture,
Because your forefathers came from England and taught them like this. That is the real plan. India was inspired. But the Lord Macaulay, they said no, that if you keep Indian as Indian, you will never be able to rule over, culturally conquer. So they began to teach Indians, England's work in India. Whatever you have got, that is all nonsense. You learn from us. And the first product is Jawaharlal Nehru. This is the misfortune of foreign rule.
it would seem then that English culture is stronger than Indian culture then.
Huh?
It seemed that the English culture has conquered over the Indian culture then.
No, Indian culture is still going on. It is not lost. Otherwise, how it is going to your country and bringing you?
India
Why?
not satisfied with its
Prabhupada is so optimistic. Prabhupada is such a strategist. No, it's still there. Otherwise, how it's going to your country and how did you take it up? Like, spot on. All right, so we are right in time. But if anybody has like a comment or a question, just quickly. We have 1 minute before Rasastali Mataji can read us the affirmation. Any comments, questions? Hello, anybody awake?
We're here.
Good morning. Okay, Rasastali Mataji, please take over.
Okay. Affirmation 20. Through my actions, I teach people that Krishna loves them. Preaching means to share Krishna's love with others through our actions. People's greatest need is to be loved. Our job is not only to tell them the love they are seeking in Krishna's love, but to demonstrate what that love looks like by how we deal with and care for them. People cannot believe what we say unless they see that we practice what we preach. Our actions are our most powerful means of preaching. A religious leader once said, I teach all day, and at the end of the day, I may speak a few words. Hare Krishna.
Jai, perfect.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, if we don't send our children to Gurukul, if we don't train them, we send them to become slaves, and then we go and preach to people, how are they going to believe us? We have to show them. We cannot just